Oh man, the time has arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Mr. Wes Gardner, KamiDaHobo. How are you doing? How you doing? We doing good. You know, doing fine. Feeling good. You like the list so far? Huh? You know what this episode is, right? You know what this one is. So, in all seriousness, I think a top 5 list, and a top 25 list, but a top 5 list in particular, really takes a lot of energy. It's one of those that you really have to dig in deep on why you like certain things. Even if a game that you like has a small flaw, that might be enough to kick it off the list. Man, this was a tough list to put together, but I'm very confident with it. I feel very, very good about it. It got to the point to where I would do my editing and I would look at the different games on the list, and then I knew if I can't get rid of it, if I feel bad for getting rid of it, I know it deserves its spot on the list. So with all that being said, these are my favorite games of all time, without question. I highly recommend every single one of them. I'm going to wax nostalgic about them. I'm going to get a little poetic with them. You know, it is what it is. It's the top 5 games of all time, and it starts right now. I love Vice City. I love it. Rockstar nailed it. They took Grand Theft Auto 3, which kind of reinvented video games when it came out. I remember playing Grand Theft Auto 3 and thought it would change the world, and it did. It really did. It set the stage for game development and the way people thought about video games from then on out. And then they came out with Vice City. And the first time I heard that Flock of Seagulls song, I was in. I was like, this is it. This is why they made this series. Nothing will be better than this. The 80s, Miami Vice, Cocaine Cowboy, that is what Grand Theft Auto is in my mind forever. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5 and 4, you had all the little, built-on stuff on it, Ballad of Gay Tony. You had really good expansions and stuff like that, and the gameplay is a little bit more nuanced now. But I still think Vice City is the best game that Rockstar's ever made. Red Dead Redemption and Vice City, it was between one of those two as far as a Rockstar open world crazy game. But I picked Vice City. That's how much of an impact it had on me. And it still has on me. I still love opening it up, playing it. It's just so good. That heavy metal 80s soundtrack radio station, K-Rock, oh my God. You had some just doozies on that. But that whole soundtrack's perfect. The vibe is perfect. That pink neon. I mean, that's what we got in the background right here, man. I dig it. That 80s vibe. Ooh, it got it. It nailed it. It's perfect. Best game Rockstar's ever made. Grand Theft Auto. Vice City. Mwah! So good. So I made a video last year that talked about the top 3 role-playing games on the PlayStation 1. We've already discussed one of them, and that was Final Fantasy VII. One of the other ones is actually my number 4 game of all time, period. And that, of course, is Breath of Fire 3. Now, we talked about Street Fighter 3 Third Strike and how I think it's the best fighting game ever made. Breath of Fire 3, to me, is the best game Capcom has ever made. Which is huge words if you're talking about Resident Evil 2, you're talking about freaking Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, you're talking about all these different games, and that's crazy. Breath of Fire 3, to me, is the best game they've ever made. So much so that I got it on PS1, had the full complete inbox, that I also had to get the Japanese version, baby. We got that. It has all of the stuff. It has the stuff to put it on the store shelf. It has all the for sale signage on the inside that I kept as well. I had to get it. Oddly enough, this game and the game right after this, my number 3 game, but this game, no matter what system, no matter what computer, no matter what I get, I always find a way to make a copy and dump the ISO get an emulator. That way I always have it. It's on my Google Drive. It's on everywhere. It's on everything. I need this game with me at all times. It's on my phone. It's one of those games. It's like a security blanket. Like, that's how much I love it. The character development, the graphics, the like weird upbeat smooth jazz soundtrack. There's nothing like Breath of Fire 3. Breath of Fire 4 is a great game as well, but something about 3 is just on another level. You got your fishing minigame, you can do your cooking. There is just so much personality and so much love given to the writing and the characterizations, even the pixel animations. Perfect. There's so much that they do with relatively so little, and it's not only memorable, but it's definitive. It's one of those games that you base like your outlook on gaming life and culture around. It really is. That's the type of influence. I remember the first time I got this, I read the strategy or the inside booklet at a Red Lobster. We went to the mall, bought the game, then I started reading through it, and I was like, I want to do this and this and this, and look at that, look at these. Played it nonstop. I actually have a Let's Play going on right now that I haven't updated in like 3 years. I need to go back to it. But dude, Breath of Fire 3 is just, so good. So heartfelt, so amazing. Now, my number 3 game of all time is the third game from that top 3 PS1 RPGs video, and that is Star Ocean: The Second Story. To me, in my opinion, once again, I got the North American version, I got the Japanese version, complete with all the sales packaging and stuff like that. Just, I got them all. To me, Star Ocean: The Second Story is the best Japanese role-playing game ever made. It's better than any of the other ones. If you name a game, any of them, and I'm telling Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, whatever you got, bring your big guns, because I'll shoot it down with Star Ocean: Second Story. There is so much to that game. You have full like recipe books you can fill out. You can become an alchemist to make your own potions. It's almost an Elder Scrolls game, if you think about it. There's so much to do. There are so many different endings. I think it has 18 different endings, depending on your relationships between all of the characters. And trust me, I don't think I've gotten all of them, but I think I've gotten like 15 of them. There's so much to say about the game. I love the way it controls the battle system, where you have the 3D, where you can actually run around and actually set up your attacks and all the combinations you can do. Even the gumpy voice acting, the little voice files that play, like Hoo-Yo and Dragon Claw and all that stuff.
Well, that's somewhere around 80 points.
I love it. I love all of it. It's from its own era. It's a timestamp. It's a point in time for a genre. And the best way I can say this is the PlayStation 1, that era, is the golden age of RPGs. And Star Ocean 2 is the best one. It is the best of the best era. There is no better Japanese role-playing game than Star Ocean: The Second Story. And it's easily in my top 3. And like I said, for a long time it was number 1. But yeah, number 3 game of all time, Star Ocean: The Second Story. Please play it. It's on PSP. It's on PlayStation 1. Do whatever you got to do, man. Just get it. Oh, just get it. So amazing.
Boss, what is this?
I'm defecting to the Soviet Union. Sokolov is a little gift from my new hosts.
Recoilless nuclear warheads. These will make a fine gift for me.
This can't be happening.
Who is he? Another one of your disciples? Are we taking him with us?
No, this one is still just a child. Too pure for us Cobras. He has not yet found an emotion to carry into battle.
What are you talking about?
Think you can pull the trigger?
He's seen my face. We can't let him live. If Khrushchev finds out about this, we're finished. He must die.
Wait. He's my apprentice. I'll take care of him. Jack, you can't come with us.
Where to begin with Metal Gear Solid 3? Whew. So to me, if you talk about game stories, if you talk about something like character development, bringing someone in that's not a big fan of video games, if you were to show them one game to kind of like quote unquote change their mind, what would it be? For me, it's Metal Gear Solid 3. It takes all the craziness of Kojima, and I'm a big Metal Gear fan going back to the original on regular Nintendo and MSX. But it takes the goofy storytelling of Kojima, but grounds it and puts it in a context that it's almost a James Bond movie. In a lot of ways, I do think that Metal Gear Solid 3 is the best James Bond video game ever made, because that's how it progresses. You get, you start off as your badass and, oh, nothing can take this guy down, and look at, he's so cool. And then as the game goes on, you start breaking this character down to his very core, and the ending will absolutely throttle you. It'll shock you. It's the best standalone ending of a video game of all time. No doubt in my mind, without question, Metal Gear Solid 3 has the best ending in video game. It not only put a nice bow on the one package, but it made the rest of the Metal Gear games better. And that's a heavy burden to put on your shoulders, but it does it with flying colors. It's perfect standalone. It's even better as part of the giant Metal Gear franchise. I've bought that game so many times, and I'll buy, if they keep making HD editions of it, I will buy every single one of them. It is so close to being perfect. And there's some stuff that, you look at it objectively and it just doesn't work quite as well, but there are no words for it. It's genius. It is bona fide genius.
You ejected the first bullet by hand, didn't you? I see what you were trying to do. But testing a technique you've only heard about in the middle of battle wasn't very smart. You were asking to have your gun jam on you. Besides, I don't think you're cut out for an automatic in the first place. You tend to twist your elbow to absorb the recoil. That's more of a revolver technique.
So we've run the gamut. We've gotten a whole lot of stuff. We've done real-time strategy games and 4X strategy games, Japanese role-playing games and action games, and all sorts of fun stuff. So where do you go? Where do you go for your number one? What makes the number one game better than all the rest? And I will just say that my number one game is still ahead of its time. In fact, I still think it's ahead of now. Like, if this game were to come out now, yeah, they would have to retool some of the things, but if they kept the crux of what made this game special, it would still win Game of the Year here, 2018, 2019, and beyond, in my opinion. It is timeless. It reinvented the way video game mechanics on the back end are handled, what players expect to be able to do in a video game. It pushed the envelope for its time. It's way ahead of the curve, and I think it's still ahead of its time.
Your appointment to FEMA should be finalized within the week. I've already discussed the matter with the senator.
I take it he was agreeable?
He didn't really have a choice.
Has he been infected?
Oh yes, most certainly. When I mentioned that we could put him on the priority list for the ambrosia vaccine, he was so willing it was almost pathetic.
This plague, the rioting, is intensifying to the point where we may not be able to contain it.
Why contain it? Let it spill over into the schools and churches. Let the bodies pile up in the streets. In the end, they'll beg us to save them.
I've received reports of armed attacks on shipments. There's not enough vaccine to go around, and the underclasses are starting to get desperate.
Of course they're desperate. They can smell their death, and the sound they'll make rattling their cage will serve as a warning to the rest.
I hope you're not underestimating the problem. The others may not go as quietly as you think. Intelligence indicates they're behind the problems in Paris.
A bunch of pretentious old men playing at running the world. But the world left them behind long ago. We are the future.
We have other problems.
UNATCO?
Formed by executive order after the terrorist strike on the statue. I have someone in place, though. I'm more concerned about Savage. He's relocated to Vandenberg.
Our biochem corpus is far in advance of theirs, as is our electronic sentience. And their ethical inflexibility has allowed us to make progress in areas they refuse to consider.
The augmentation project?
Among other things, but I must admit that I have been somewhat disappointed in the performance of the primary unit.
The secondary unit should be online soon. It's currently undergoing preparation and will be operational within 6 months. My people will continue to report on its progress. If necessary, the primary will be terminated.
We've had to endure much, you and I, but soon there will be order again. A new age. Aquinas spoke of the mythical city on the hill. Soon, that city will be a reality, and we will be crowned its kings. Not better than kings. Gods.
So Deus Ex is a game that you get out of it what you put into it. And there are so many small things that add up to, it's a perfect study of the Gestalt theory where, you know, the product is greater than the sum of all of its individual parts. They've remade, they've done the newer Deus Ex games, and those are fun and those are good, and I highly recommend those. But those are very video gaming. Those were like, oh, hit the cool button and rub, put your hand through the wall and grab the person and do the move and do all this cool stealth stuff. Isn't that awesome? But with the original Deus Ex, everything was so deliberate. You had to choose to do that stuff, and you had to manually do it. You had to manually find a way to shoot a light out, or to, like, all the different ways you could go through levels, all the different ways you could talk to people to convince them to do things for you or do things against you. You could really shape your own playthrough depending on what the outcomes of each individual situation was. It's one of those deals that it took me forever to realize that near the first of the game, you end up losing your brother. There's a way to save your brother. The first time I heard that, I was like, wait, what? I've played that game 4 times. And you're telling me there's a way I can... No way. You go back and you play it again. You find something new. You play it again. You see something you haven't seen before. And it's the first game, in my opinion, that really took that first-person immersive perspective and made it into an RPG where you had to do a certain loadout. You had to get a certain type of gun in your inventory. Did you want to carry your rocket launcher? That's great. But now you can't have your short-range weapons because they won't fit in your inventory. You had to make these very hard decisions, and you had to go forward no matter what happened, no matter what happens with the story. It kept moving. You didn't have time to worry. You didn't have time to think about it. You just had to keep going. And there's nothing like it.
The NSF surrounded in the Ton Hotel.
Hostages?
I don't know. Is that it?
Yeah, thanks.
There's still not... People are trying to figure out what made that game so special still. You know, there's other games, Kickstarter stuff that tries, oh, we're a lot like the original Deus Ex. You're like, yeah, I'm sure you are, but you're talking about what? 1999, year 2000? That game came out. I mean, we're still talking about it. I'm still talking about it and obsessed with it 18 years later. It's still pushing the envelope. And especially when you do stuff like Deus Ex Revision, which is kind of the HD mod upgrade that you do. I mean, you can get that game, you can get Deus Ex on sale at Good Old Games or Steam during their sales for like $1 for the Game of the Year edition. It's accessible, it runs on everything. Literally, like a Pentium 2 can run Deus Ex. There's no reason not to play it, just give it some time. Really, you'll notice a lot of my games are slow burns. Just dig in, get lost in that cyberpunk universe. There are so many little details. The name, like, I know one of the padlocks, you actually have to put the year, what was it? The year that Hong Kong did, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be a real kind of scholar of history to know some of these inside references. And it's a game about the Illuminati. So it's already framing you to think a certain way. So you're like, how is this stuff connected? What's all going on? There's so much to it. I could spend an hour on a video just talking about what blows me away about Deus Ex. But I won't. Just know it continues to be my favorite game of all time. I think it's the best game ever made. And there's not much else to say about it. It's just, it is what it is. It's the blueprint that modern video games use. And it's all there, all in one game. That's it. They just go back to that well. You're talking any popular game that, even third-person games, real big immersive stuff, they take cues from Deus Ex. Deus Ex invented them. That is the grandfather of current video games. We would not be where we are as an industry without it. Bottom line. It just is what it is, man. Whew. That's it. What are we, about an hour in? Oh man, but I hope you guys dug this. It was a lot of fun to put together. It was very stressful to put together. Trying to list your favorite things ever. Not as easy as you might think. But I hope you guys had fun. You know where to find me. Hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on Twitter. And of course, go to the Twitch page. We'll see some live gameplay multiple times a week. A lot of fun, man. I've been meaning to do this video forever. Kind of as a one thing to pass on to people, to be like, here's what my taste in video games are. I hope you enjoy. And I do hope you enjoy. And let me know, is there a game that you're like, why didn't you have such and such on there? I'd love to hear from you. What's some of your favorite games? Give me your top 5 in the comments. Or if you made a video about your top games, link it to me, man. I love to watch those videos. Yeah, I hope you guys found some games. I hope you guys were surprised by a few. Like, who expected to see Road Rash 3 in a best games ever made, you know, in a favorite games list? But man, that is it. I think this is kind of a perfect little nugget to show someone and be like, okay, this is KamiDaHobo. Like, if you're into these games, you're gonna like what this guy has to say. And I hope that's the case. But anyways, it's been a pleasure. It's been a treat. I hope you guys had fun. We should do more videos like this. Maybe not this long, but we'll do more videos like this. Let me know what you'd like to see. Hey, my top 5 favorite RPGs or my top 5 favorite shooters. What do you want to see? We'll be able to do it. But until next time, guys, please take care, have fun, and most importantly, play video games that you love and share that love with other people. Catch you around. Peace.